This is Molly Hemingway, encouraging you to listen to my favorite podcast, Issues, Etc. Every day you get in-depth interviews with host Todd Wilkin asking expert guests substantive, thought-provoking questions on all of the important news and issues of our day. The expert guests are in culture, law, ethics, philosophy, theology, and apologetics. Expert guests, expansive topics, always extolling Christ. Issues, etc.
There seems to have been a lot of reshuffling of abortion laws since the fall of Roe v. Wade. With the passage of Dobbs, we saw some states immediately, due to trigger laws, in effect banning abortion within their borders. Others moved very quickly to get constitutional amendments to basically encode Roe, and even worse, into their state constitutions. Where does it stand now? Welcome back to Issues, Etc. Joining us to talk about ballot initiatives in Idaho, Virginia, Nevada, and Missouri, Peter Northcott. He's Director of State Strategies for National Right to Life. Peter, welcome.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on. I'm grateful.
How should we generally understand the post-Dobbs reshuffling of abortion laws in the states?
Yes, obviously after the overturn of Roe versus Wade and the Dobbs decision, the decision was sent to the people through their elected representatives, both at the federal level and, of course, it's playing out on the state level every single day, whether it's through legislation or through the series of balloted initiatives that the voters have considered over the last 4 years. And so we are seeing an exercise in democracy at this point in time, but ultimately the pro-life movement has an opportunity before it to shape policy by changing hearts and minds and taking a very incrementalist approach that shows that the pro-life movement ultimately stands with women against the abortion industry and in support of human life at every stage.
So if you would describe the legal landscape as we have it now regarding abortion in the states, what does it look like?
Yes, so there is a whole series of different laws that are on the books across the country. More leftist-leaning states or coastal states, you have abortion access really up at any point in time. In various parts of the South and in the Midwest, there are a gamut of laws that protect life at conception to other states that have gestational protections at 15 weeks, at 12 weeks, across the gamut. So really, jurisdictions in the states are determining their abortion laws at this point.
How did Idaho get an abortion ban in the first place, and what will that state's voters be considering in November?
Yes, great question. So with the overturn of Roe versus Wade, there were a number of states that had what you'd call a trigger law that added protections for preborn children, some of them at the moment of conception, if Roe versus Wade were to be overturned. So shortly after the Dobbs decision was handed down in various phases, some of these states had these trigger laws or these protective laws go into place, Idaho being one of them. And of course, we've seen various challenges to that law from the abortion industry on different levels. And now you're seeing a coalition really financially backed by the abortion industry from around the country that is bringing an initiative in Idaho to really allow for abortions up to the moment of birth and put in danger almost every limit on abortion in the state of Idaho. So it's a very serious proposal that's being put forward to the voters of Idaho, and ultimately the voters will have to consider whether they want to adopt such an extreme measure.
How likely do you think it is to pass?
Well, what we've seen across the country is the abortion industry comes in with so much money and they buy up the airwaves and they try to define the initiative as what it is not. They are not going to tell the voters of Idaho that there really is abortion up to the moment of birth that can lead to taxpayer-funded abortion. It also has some implications when it comes to gender transition surgeries for minors, so some very, very broad implications. They go through with very focus grouped messaging and they try to convince the voters that it's a very moderate proposal. Now, the people of Idaho are very smart. They're very common sense. They've seen initiatives come and go throughout their state. So I think it is going to be a very tough battle in the state of Idaho, but we are hopeful that the voters of Idaho will reject such an extreme proposal.
What is the current state of the abortion issue in Virginia?
Yes. So at this point in time, Virginia has very, very broad access to abortion at this point in time. The abortions have continued to go up, certainly over the last 4 years. So they have very, very permissive laws on abortion at this point in time. Now, there is an initiative that's being put forward in November to voters that would insert, in my belief, would be unlimited abortion into their state constitution. And what we've seen this play out in other states is these initiatives get passed, and then the abortion industry will go and challenge the laws that are on the books. So they've attacked parental rights. They've attacked laws that stop taxpayer-funded abortion. And that's what you're seeing right now in the state, again, like Idaho, Virginia, the same way, where the abortion industry brings these sweeping proposals. And so, again, Virginia is another state. Nevada is a state that has an initiative on the ballot where the abortion industry is bringing these extreme proposals.
Tell us a little bit more about the attempt to write abortion into Virginia's constitution, as many states already have.
Yes, and again, with Virginia already having very, very broad access to abortion, very, very broad abortion laws, it is a belief by many that individuals in the Democratic Party, some of the leftist donors, present some of these proposals as turnout mechanisms. So they're using it to try and turn out their base for the November election. So it is surprising how broadly abortion is accessible in the state. This would take it even further so that if laws like parental notification could be struck down, or it could force the state to require taxpayers to fund abortion. So they're changing that sacred document, which is the Constitution of the State of Commonwealth of Virginia, and they're inserting abortion into that document.
You mentioned perhaps a similar effort in Nevada?
Yes. So Nevada, each state has different laws when it comes to changing their constitution. So Nevada, to amend the Constitution in Nevada, it actually has to be passed by voters twice. So in 2024, there's an initiative, a ballot initiative, constitutional amendment that was passed in Nevada in 2024, and now in 2026, this will be the second run at that initiative. So that is something that individuals across the nation are watching very carefully to see if that initiative will ultimately be adopted. But the concept, while the language might vary just a little bit, the ultimate end is the same, whether it's in the state of Virginia, it's the state of Nevada, or in Idaho, which is to enshrine unlimited abortion into the state's constitution.
How do you explain the back and forth on abortion amendments in the state of Missouri?
Yes, well, the state of Missouri, the issue of abortion and the fight for life has been something that's deep in their history, at least over the last 50 years. The initiative that has led to extreme abortion practices taking place in Missouri narrowly passed in 2024. And so many throughout the state of Missouri felt that it was important to allow the people the opportunity to go back and have a conversation about what their abortion laws should look like. So an initiative is being brought forward, Amendment 3, which would allow for there to be protections for life. There are some exceptions in the language. It would also stop the practice of gender transition surgeries for minors. And so Missouri would be the first state in the country that is looking to at least allow some protections for life after there has been a very extreme abortion initiative that's been passed. So I think that is going to be very closely watched. It sounds like there will be campaigns that are building on both sides here in November. Again, we're ultimately hopeful the people of Missouri will choose to have common sense abortion laws that don't allow abortion up to birth and allow for the protection and safety of both women and children.
The Associated Press reports that abortion rights groups have prevailed in 14 out of 18 state referenda since Dobbs. What does that mean for pro-lifers?
Yes, each state has their own story as to why those ballot initiatives have passed or as they have not passed. Broadly speaking, the pro-life movement has been successful in a couple of those efforts. In 2024, they were able to prevail in South Dakota, Nevada, and in Florida. I think what it says to the pro-life movement is that there is significant more work needed when it comes to changing heart and minds, showing that the pro-life movement is the best path forward when it comes to caring for women and the protection of children. If you ask most people across the country, and there are studies out there that show this, most people believe that abortion should not be the only option and that we can do better as a society. And as we're looking to have successes at the ballot box, we also have to continue to build that culture to where individuals see that abortion is not their only choice. And so I think there's a lot of lessons that have been learned in the ballot initiative states that have not been successful for the pro-life movement when it comes to helping to build a culture that can ultimately lead to more successes at the ballot box.
How do you respond to someone who says that for the Republican Party, abortion now is kind of a third rail? It's going to lose them elections both at the state level and the national level.
Well, I would say that pro-life voters are not just Republicans, they're not Democrats, they're not independents. They're solely focused on the issue of life. That being said, there are so many members of the base of the Republican Party that are pro-life. I mean, this is a core issue for them. And so we've seen some parts of the country and some elected officials that continue to embrace the pro-life movement or being champions for the movement. And those that are simply taking the pro-life movement for granted or are not being strong on the issue of life, I think that they do that to their electoral detriment. I mean, pro-lifers are known for showing up, especially in midterm elections like we are facing here, showing up in droves. They're the ones that are putting the yard signs in the yards. They're the ones that are going door to door. They're doing the extra. So for those that are trying to not embrace the pro-life movement, I think they do that. It's not only not the morally right thing to do, but they're also doing that at their detriment.
Peter Northcott is Director of State Strategies for National Right to Life. You'll find a link to National Right to Life on the podcast page for this episode at issuesetc.org. Peter, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
In Hour 2 of Issues, Etc., we'll talk about the Lord's Prayer with Lutheran worship. It pops up in the baptismal rite, the funeral rite, in ordination, in the commendation of the dying, of course, in the divine service as well. What's it doing in each of those services? Pastor Will Whedon will be our guest.
Listen weekday afternoons to Pastor Todd Wilken and guests on Issues Etc. Issues Etc. is a listener-supported program. Your financial support is vital for the continuation and expansion of this worldwide outreach. Our mailing address, Issues Etc., P.O. Box 83, Collinsville, Illinois, 62234. Box 83, Collinsville, Illinois, 62234. You can also donate at our website, issuesetc.org. Issues Etc. is a production of LPR, Lutheran Public Radio.
Psalm 144:1. Blessed be the Lord my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. Those serving in the armed forces want LCMS chaplains. We need courageous pastors to bring the gospel and sacraments to those protecting our nation, along with wise counsel and the peace found only in Christ Jesus. If you are between the age of 26 and 43 and have a heart for ministry in the armed forces, call 314-996-1337 or email lcmschaps@lcms.org.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jay Krause, principal at Metro East Lutheran High School in Edwardsville, Illinois. Metro East Lutheran High School engages young adults in a Christ-centered environment, delivering academic excellence and spiritual growth to develop Christian leaders for tomorrow. We provide a Christ-centered alternative to public high schools. We're currently enrolling students for the 2026-2027 school year. Learn more at melhs.org, melhs.org.
For decades, Lutheran High School South in St. Louis dreamed of a performing arts center. One generous alum's $6.5 million gift made it possible. With financing help from Lutheran Church Extension Fund, the vision became reality. The Jubal Center for the Arts opened in 2025, and students immediately won 5 St. Louis Musical Awards. Learn how one gift sparked a ripple effect for Lutheran South at interesttime.org/south.